Yes?
I have a question. If you are building a cross-functional teams around features, not layers, what about the communication between these teams?
Right, so there's a lot of folks that really recommend that you create feature teams, not layer teams. And typically we've had layer teams before. It depends on the size. If you're talking 3 or 4 teams, they have a much different communication problem than if you're talking 50, you know, or something like that. So, so I'll give you 2 answers. Answers for just 3 or 4 teams and answers for many more. When the teams are relatively small, you still have to have somebody care about the layers. Somebody protect the architecture of every layer. So you don't just abandon the layers and sort of let anybody work on it. You need each layer, like if it's user interface layer, for example, or database layer, we'll have people who really understand that layer, and those people need to get in touch with each other, not just with the team that they're working on. So you need to have some sort of competency, competency teaching, competency guidance, and maybe architects guarding individual competency layers. Okay? When you get into a really, really large project where there's really large amounts of team, I think the only way, so Tom, you said there was some, here we go. See if one of these here guys works. The only way, if you have a system, is to think about the system. I'll just take a camera, for example. And the camera has a body and a lens, and then there's some old flash control, and it has separate units. And what you need to do, whether it's a system that's a camera, or a system that's an airplane, or a system that's a car, or a system that's a medical device, is to try and start by dividing that system by its logical part. Now, a camera body is not software. A camera body is a physical piece. But then what you want to do is think about what software do I put in here, and how do I interact with the other people in the body. Now, it's true that there will be software here, and those people that do software here are going to want to have some competency guidance. So how do you do good software? How do you do good testing? But it's really good to have your teams make sure that they break themselves down along the logical system boundaries of the overall high-level system. Not of the software, but of the high-level system. And that means, okay, now I have a smaller group of teams that I have to worry about. And even then, it's not necessarily going to be clean. Sometimes these are going to break into component teams, but you do get sort of a kind of a bit of a matrix where here's your feature, and here's your competency. And so if this person is on a feature team, they still want to get along with their colleagues in the competency area and make sure that they know how that works too. And then let's go to delays. So the concept about delays is that time is money. Now this comes from the days when it was all about cash flow thinking. From the time I invest money until the time I get some money back, that's really important. That is something a small company understands really well. I don't want to invest something and get money back in 2 years because, what am I going to do in the meantime? So the idea from the time I invest something until the time I get a return is an important concept, is why in Lean delays are waste. Toyota was a small company in a struggling country without a lot of money when it developed its processes. And they had definitely the concept that I can't invest more money than I have. I want to get payoff right away. And so in that kind of sense, delays are waste. And then it's really become clear over time that that holds in more organizations than just Toyota when it was in a country that was sort of struggling. But the whole concept of thinking about cash flow, thinking about from the time I invest money until the time I get it back, I want that to be as short as possible, turns out to deliver a whole bunch of good benefits, lots of benefits. So delay in the Lean paradigm is waste. Because Money's flying off as you wait. Work in progress is waste. Partially done work is waste. So I'll talk about two kinds. You've seen that kind. Okay, let's build a great big list of requirements before we get started. Right? Never saw that. And what happens with those piles of requirements is that they high risk. And by the way, you're not supposed to learn anything either once you put them together. No learning, because that's, you know, that's the way the world is. Things might change, too bad. That's what happens when you get large amounts of requirements in the beginning. So, you know, we've kind of begun to get over this in Agile. We don't try to build all those great big requirements at the beginning. But there's something we haven't quite got over yet, and that is great big long lists. Okay? Because we call these things backlog. And we say, backlog is good. Well, I don't think so. Now remember, delay is seen through the eyes of your customers, not you. So what customer likes you to say, I've got it on my list, you're good. And they don't want to know that it's on your list. They want to know when you're going to do it. And that you're going to do it soon, not that it's on your list. So they don't want a backlog that says, oh, you be quiet, I'll get you someday. They want a short list where you can predict the time in which they're going to deliver. So in the Lean paradigm, a list of stuff to do are waste. They're partially done work, in-process inventory. Yeah?
Is that a sprint backlog?
Well, a sprint backlog is hopefully 2 weeks in short. Okay, so I could maybe, yeah, I could look at that. A couple of sprints worth of stuff getting ready for the sprint. Yeah, I can see that. Customers can say, oh yeah, 3 weeks and 2 sprints and you'll be done. That's fine. 6-month backlog, what?
Help us predict the architecture.
Well, okay. You have to have a roadmap. You have to understand your architecture. No argument with that concept. But to drive all of those down to a detailed set of stuff early in the process and say, I got my backlog ready, no, I don't think that's such a good idea. So, yes, there's no question, before you get started, you have to think about the big picture, the overall product you're trying to do, what customers really want, what architecture will be sound over time, not just now. You're not just building for now, you're building for something for the future. It's going to need to be changed. So there's no excuse for not understanding what constitutes a good architecture and what constitutes the roadmap of where you're going. But I don't think there's also any excuse to build up a long, long list of interesting stuff to do, especially if you happen to be using it to, keep customers a little bit further away from the development team so they don't bother them. So the concept of a backlog can be good, can be bad, but I'll try another name. I call it a queue, and short queues work. Long queues don't, or maybe I'll call it a buffer. So, yeah.
How to sign a contract with an external customer if we don't know at the beginning what we are going to achieve? We have only some clear idea what is the vision, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. One of the things is that there's sort of the vision here, and then there's an intermediate step. Okay, given an overall vision, what 10 things does the business really need? Okay, or what are the 5 most important tasks that the customer needs automated? Or what is a 1-page summary of the business objectives of the project? What are we trying to do from a customer point of view? What is their objectives? And then from each one of these things, you drive it down into perhaps a couple of big things. But when you get down to, many, many things, you don't want to get there too fast. You want to get there just before it's time to implement them. So Tom Gilpin Oslo always says, you should start with is the one sheet of the measurable business goals of the project, and you should deliver them incrementally and make sure that they deliver value before you do the next one. So it's from a overall vision to very specific understanding about, a one-sheet page of the major business objectives, the roadmap that you're trying to follow, and that is the goal. And then maybe another page, which is the architecture by which you intend to accomplish that. And then it's time to figure out on an iterative basis how you accomplish it.